this afternoon we will have as guest, together with Gia and Sascha, also Filippo Tusberti, who worked in a past climate project on the mapping of the Copernicus crater, who will join us for this afternoon session. In the meantime, I will answer another question. How did you manage to get the sub-legend in final contacts? It never appeared to me because this was rather stuck. So you don't have to touch this. You just have to touch the source contacts. If you switch on the source contacts, you right-click, properties, symbology, you go to categorize here. And then you have to categorize by value, which is the certainty, okay? You click classify, you are prompted with the random symbols, and then one by one, you have to go and double click each symbol and go to this drop-down menu, select planetary symbols, which we have just installed, select the correct planetary symbol, click OK, click apply, okay? And then after you recompute the map here, all these symbols that you have set in your source contacts are going to be set also in the final contacts. If this doesn't work, please check the mapping interface here, this one, that source contacts and source indicators are your input files, and that unit name is the unit field. If you don't have this field correctly, none of what I'm showing here will work. So be sure to check all the time that this is correctly placed. Another question, how and what do you look for when downloading data from this course or say external? I'm not quite getting the question, but if you followed my lesson of the previous day of Monday, you can also look at it. It's recorded and it's up online. I'm showing lots of different repositories where you can download data, different resolutions for different purposes. And I guess that there you have all the information. Okay, so shall we continue? If we have Filippo online.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone.
We have just a small question. Maybe this is for Sascha and Gia. Should there be a large number of terrace melt pools? I'm noting around 60 of them so far. Is this real, or I am just misinterpreting every smooth debris filled terrace as a melt pond? So I guess the question is that is it real that we have so many melt ponds, or we have just flat areas that we are over-interpreting?
So it is possible to find a large number of melt ponds because Copernicus, it's a very young crater, and I think then you can identify morphologies better because it's not very degraded or highly cratered. I don't know what number would you find because I didn't really map this area, but it's not unrealistic to find so many melt counts.
Okay, thank you. Could you show again how you did contour the ejecta? Yes. So the ejecta here, it was quite interesting, and actually this can be a good hook to what we are going to show this afternoon. So let me zoom in a bit. We used the Kaguya MI mineral abundance maps, for example. if you go here and we switch on the Kaguya mineral map layer, you see that, let me switch off the map. You see that, for example, the abundance of orthopyroxene is pretty high. You see it in the color scale. And here, if you explode, you see from 0 up to until 0.6, 60%. So it's quite a lot. And you can clearly see that there are some ejecta. You don't clearly see the, let's say, the boundaries, but you see that they are there for sure. And you can play with all the layers. For example, let's see if we have some plagioclase. We do. We do have also some plagioclase. We do not have any olivine there, or a lot less. And clinopyroxene is negligible. So this is a way to use the spectral data also to contour morphologic units, in case you don't see it very clearly on the DTM or on optical images. So now, shall we go back to our map and switch off Kaguya mineral maps? We were interpreting the interior of the crater, right? And we were just discussing about this smooth area on our roughness map. You see the smooth area, and also these all hammocky areas. And I think that we just left the discussion open whether this can be a single hammocky area or this can be subdivided into subunits. So what's your take, Sascha and Gia, about that? Shall we switch on the visible imagery so we can have a better look on how things appear in reality?
I would totally agree that we can switch to visible data and have a closer look to that area to decide whether to keep it a single hummocky area or divided by.
Maybe we can try to use the Kaguya again. Let me see. Actually, you know what? I always switch off also all the limits that we have placed because they can be misleading. Yeah. Or switch on and off.
You can also try to put the image data in transparency over full shade or something like that. Then we can see two data together.
Yes, okay. So transparency, the images, and then his shade at the bottom.
Yeah, image data or I mean, maybe hill shade at the bottom, and then we can yeah, test another data on top of it in the transparency.
Yes, okay. Like for example, yeah, we have hill shade here, and then we can use roughness. No, we have the slope map. Not sure it helps a lot. Or you mean the actual images?
Maybe we can also try roughness and transparency because it
okay,
looks.
let me enable the transparency and the slider. Or we can just do a blending, which is maybe better. We can do some blending. We can also look in 3D if it works. Why not? Let me see, overlay. It's not helping much. Let me try multiply. This is better. Yeah.
Yeah, because for me in At first, it looked like that the area near crater wall, they are smoother than the adjacent hummocky areas.
Here,
Right.
yes,
So
I concur with that, and also here,
yes.
but especially here, probably we can mark another. We can move this limit actually, and go around here, and then maybe close it here. So let's open up Copernicus map. Take our source contacts, and then we can. Yes, also that one. We can fix this. We
No,
can
it
fix
is
that.
not that the boundary should be around here.
Yes, yes. Okay, let's fix it. So we can delete some vertices. We have too many. So I click with the mouse and then hit the delete button. So I am removing, let's say, complexity to the geometry. And you see, it's much more manageable. And then I will add new nodes later on. And okay, so I can take this and move it here. And this maybe go here. Right? Is it what you thought?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's good. You see that the final contact is still here. So let me just save and then recompute the map, and then the final contact will move. Okay, now it's matching with our source contacts. And now we are going to either maybe leave this ridge alone and then do another area here, like that. Create a new. Okay. Let me try to do this. Try to go around here, maybe here. And I think I'm going to stop here for the moment. No, this is not certain. This is inferred, right?
Yes.
Infer, recompute, save. And then we need to use our source indicators to populate this null, which is still smooth floor, right? So we take our source indicator, select source indicators, select this point, the newly one created, click, open attribute table, go here, and it is floor, smooth again. Save, stop editing, close attribute table, recompute the map, and we have the smooth floor here again. Save from time to time. Okay, I think I'm not 100% sure, but this area here to me looks similar to this, and we have some small gap here. It looks like a different type of hammock here, a bit more bumpy. Here the texture is much more grainy, or like here is much more chaotic probably, but this is just my opinion. We can have a look with other data. Let me see if we can find something different. Here you can see it as well. Here you have some scalloped terrain. Here it's smooth again, right?
I would agree, yeah.
So I can also place some smooth material here. Source contacts, we are already editing. We see the pencil, so it's simply enough to do this. And I can start from maybe here. I don't know why, if I'm super correct. In case annotate my drawing and I will change it. Boom, done. Recompute, save. And then this is again to be classified as smooth. So we take our source indicators, editing, select this, and then open attribute table, and we give a name to our friend, which is, again, close mode. Save, close the attribute table, recompute. It's not bad. Okay.
Looks nice.
And by the way, here we are starting to add more and more source indicators, but we still have the old categories, right? We don't have the, what is it? The actual legend that we have here, because from time to time we have to go here and then reclassify it by unit name. And if I hit classify, I will gain all the categories that we have placed inside the table. So hit and then apply. So we have much more categories and they match the ones of this map here. The only thing that is not matching is the unnamed points, because they are the new ones, which is the ones we wanted to use. Okay.
So maybe now we can add the ejector blanket to our map if we want.
Yes, indeed. Like this proximal ejector blanket here.
Yeah.
Okay, again, here I think I could see something which is clear and something less clear. For example, here I can see pretty decently that there's a boundary. Yeah, and probably also here. So probably we need again to use certain or approximate any inferred contacts. So I will start from here. Okay, I don't see it anymore. I'd say approximate here anyways. And then maybe from here until here.
Yeah.
And again, this is very, very approximate. And then either we play with the hill shade and we create new ones with different sun orientations. Or we play with the inferred, because here you can still see that the texture in the DTM is different from the outside, which is smoother, and the inside, which is a bit more, let's say, coarse. So I will try to draw an inferred contact here. Let's say from here. I'm not super confident that this is right, but yes, you first have to approximate a bit, and then you can go and see other images and then refine and gather more evidence. Yeah. So the first very qualitative degree of confidence, we can call this like proximal ejecta. We can compute the map, and then, as usual, we have to give a name to this guy here. And if we open up our source indicators, we don't even need to select it because it's the only null one we have, which is this one. To edit, we need to open the selection. Proximal ejecta is okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, save, compute. And then we have our legend, which starts to be quite good. One thing that maybe we can try to do before moving on to also the part involving Filippo. Now we have a lot of different features, okay? We have classified them according to their contacts, but they are randomly ordered, okay? They are not placed in a stratigraphic sequence, let's say, so in a sequence of formations with the lower, which are the oldest, and the youngest, which are at the top. So maybe a good thing that we can try to do now is to have a brief discussion of what can be the oldest stuff and the younger stuff and how they are piled up, so that I can show how to adjust the legend accordingly.
So the oldest stuff should be at least the proximal ejecta, because it formed when the crater was formed.
Or
Yeah, that's
maybe the central peak,
Yeah.
you know.
So now we have already an idea that the proximal ejecta and the central peak formed more or less at the same time. We can decide whether it's the first or the second, but we have to place these two at the bottom. How to do that? Again, right click, properties. We open up our symbology, and this is fairly easy. You click and you drag with your mouse down. Now we have your central peak. If you click apply, this is going to be adjusted here as well. And if you create your map sheet, map layout, I can maybe briefly show it, but we have covered with the full lesson in last year's edition, which is recorded, so you can maybe go and check. It can be much more complete from what I'm going to say now. But this is how you order the objects. And then, for example, what else? We have the first two are the ejecta blanket and then the central peak. I guess that the second thing that form is the crater walls, right?
Yeah, I agree. And the smooth pond, maybe together or after the
soon
inner
after
wall.
Because they are, yeah. So the inner wall goes up here, and then the ponds goes on top of the inner wall because they stay. Oops. Sometimes you have to check. Sometimes this happens, and then we can apply, and you see the result. We start to have also a history of superposition of events. Now what? We have the floor, the small craters, the flows, and the ejecta. I guess that the flows are connected to the smooth ponds, right? Some of these just like this one just flowed out. We can also add maybe a linear element later on here to mark the
I agree.
outflow. And now we will construct this thing, and then we will add this linear element. But for sure, the next thing then is the flows. So we will take the flows, and they probably are later than the smooth ponds, or just more or less at the same time, but we have to place them this way for the sake of this type of legend. We will see tomorrow how to build a real stratigraphy of events that are more or less coeval or happening at the same time. This is just a very, very qualitative approximation, but in line of principle, it's good. And then what else? We have still the floor, Hammockian smooth, crater, and ejecta. I'd say that the crater and the ejecta is impacting at least on top of the inner wall. If we had the ejecta blanket covering also these two, we were 100% sure that this thing was post-dating everything else. For now, I am assuming that this is probably the youngest object that we have here, and so we will categorize it this way. We have the crater, which formed before, and after the crater, the ejecta blanket. Oops. We have then the floor, hammocky and smooth, and this is something we can maybe discuss a little bit.
It doesn't work with the crater. It put craters on the bottom.
Sorry. Thank you. Okay, maybe now, yes. Yeah, sometimes it does funny things. We have to be sure and check all the time. Okay, so now we have a sequence of events, and whether to decide or not if these two things are, the smooth and the hammocky, are which came first, which came later, maybe we can make use of a higher resolution images. Or is there anything more that you wanted to touch, Gia, Sascha?
Yeah. I just look at the high resolution neck images to be whether to decide where to put floor smooth and floor hammocky.
Okay, so let's start using a bit the NAC. Let me just save the source contacts, and then we start to use the NAC. Okay, let me shut down a bit the or make it very transparent. So I think we can have a look at this contact here. I will remove for the moment this bar, which is occupying lots of space. So right click anywhere on the top bars, and I will remove the advanced digitizing toolbar. So now we have more space. Okay, let's switch off the map.
It's hard to decide.
It is. We can have a look here. I see some contacts, not completely sure. I see also other features now that I'm zooming in with our high resolution images. Look at this. This is a crack. This is a hole. So maybe you are looking for something, and you see something different. You see also this. This is strange. But for the determination of what came first, what came later between the two, hammocky floor and smooth floor, my take on this, I might be completely wrong, is that the smooth probably came soon after the emplacement of the hammocky. Because if you look very close, you see these cracks. They look like they could be like cooling cracks of some impact melt. So we don't see a clear contact between the two. But at places it looks a bit sharp. But I'm interpreting. So I might be completely wrong. Once you're starting to interpret and you're pushing your interpretation, you should be careful to collect a lot of evidences, discuss them, and also discuss what are the weak points of your interpretation, of course.
Yeah, maybe we can decide where to put the smooth floor, because when you go up north, where this flow reaches the smooth floor, it looks like the flow is deposited on the smooth floor. Yeah, in this area.
Haha, yes. So you see, sometimes you use a better resolution data, and you have to refine your interpretation or to rework it. So yes, actually this is true. So maybe this can go on top, at least the flow. The ponds we don't know. So let me adjust it. And the flow goes on top of the smooth at least.
Yeah.
Save.
And with this high resolution image data, you also see many boulders around the flows. And if you move a bit to the south, there's a beautiful crater where you also see relatively large boulders.
Ah, yes, yes, I remember. Which one was that?
Yeah.
This one.
Yeah.
Right. And you see also the floor of the crater. It's less than 1 kilometer, and this could be like I don't know, 10 meters.
Yeah.
So pretty big, but the nice thing is that since these things are coming below the surface, we can start using again the mineralogical map to see if we are basically digging below the surface and exposing something. So let me see. For example, here, where we have this crater, we have a presence of orthopyroxene, plagioclase, clinopyroxene. So yeah, for sure we are excavating something. And you see also in correspondence of the other crater. By the way, you see the ejecta that we didn't see on the images, or not very clearly. So it's also always good to go and check. You see that the ejecta blanket here is larger, and also here, maybe we can mark these. They are not so small in the end.
Yes,
I mean, within the scale of the map, we can mark them, and maybe we can then start discussing about this particular area with Filippo. And so source contacts again. I will mark as before the crater rim and then the ejecta. And the ejecta, I will make use of the mineral maps, although they are not super high resolution. Be sure to cross. We call it rim. We make also the other rim first of this one, and then we make the ejecta blanket of the two. And also, since we are not very much able to determine which came later, which came first, this is a good place to go and check in person or with rovers, no? I mean, some places cannot be unraveled in their entirety by orbit, and this is why we need the ground truth. And this is a good reason. So now we see the ejecta blanket of this, and I can start marking it probably like that. This is inferred. Yeah. Inferred. And we also have this one. By the way, if we look closely on our high resolution NAC images from a rock, actually, you can see that when you have such where you have actually such a inferred ejecta blanket, you still have boulders around, a fairly large amount of boulders. You will hear a lot about boulders. I think, I don't remember if it's today or tomorrow, by Maurizio Paiola, tomorrow. So now we have marked them, we can recompute the map, and we can save and add the categories to this. Because we didn't categorize them yet, so better to do this. Source indicators. If you want to select more than one entity, you simply have to click Shift on your keyboard and then select one and select the other one. So you can select two at the same time. You go to the attribute table. You want to show all the selected pictures. You go here, and here you have your selected impact craters. So I can call it crater. You see, once I'm starting to create our table with lots of elements, this is a good way to go. And crater. And now I can save. And now I want also the ejecta. So what to do? I use this tool again, hit Shift, and I select this. and this, but I don't want these two anymore. So I simply have to deselect everything with this button here, and then go select one, select the other one. Source indicators, open the attribute table. You have a lot of them. They are on the usually on the back, but you can do this, and then you can call it ejector. Here, an ejector. There are lots of shortcuts you can use to be more fast and effective. And then we're done. And you see, in fact, where I place the ejector, I have a fairly large amount of boulders around. Here, 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 here. These are probably all coming from this crater. Maybe these as well from this crater or from this other one. And here, the same, you see, all these boulders are scattered around. And this is probably affecting the spectral signature I have in my Kaguya mineral abundance map. Okay.
Riccardo, would you like to say something about the linear features which are
Yes.
boundaries? No?
Yes. So this one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We have indeed a lot of linear features, and we can see some of them here. Once we add the high resolution images, this is where we start seeing the finer details, and we see lots of different things that cannot be marked by a polygon or contoured by a polyline, even if I mean a lot. It's very difficult to mark these things as a single polygon. It's doable, but it's maybe out of scope. They are very, very, very small. So it's a good idea to mark them as lines, like these fractures, or for example, some flowing features like this one. We know it's inside this incised valley. We have maybe other ones like here, that cannot be resolved. I mean, in a super, say, confident way. Here we have something else also that you don't define very. So either you have like discontinuities, for example, a fault dislocation that is cutting a unit and then displacing the unit, or you have something that cannot be resolved exactly like a polygonal element. This is a good place to start placing linear features. And these things are basically going to be independent than our mapping project with Mappy in a way that basically our polygons are constructed by the source contacts and source indicators. These things are going to be overlaid at the top. So this is an independent layer, and we will use it independently. So it's very easy again. We can simply toggle editing and start putting some lines, like, I don't know, this fracture here. It's a polyline. It's a big fracture. And here it's asking you a different thing, the type. So if it's a certain, but in this case it's certain, we can, and the type can be fracture, okay? So if you open up the attribute table, you see that we have two fields here. Before, on the source indicators, we just have like a unit name. On our source contacts, we have the certainty of the contact. Here we have also the linear feature type. It's a fracture, it's a fault, it's a channel, it's a, whatever is a ridge. So you can populate your table with as many fields as you want. And let's add some more just for, yeah, like the larger ones, and then we can go on with our discussion. Like this one is another one, fairly large. This is again probably a fracture, and then we can symbolize them in the same way as before. This is another one. I'm calling it fracture because it's clearly a depression and you don't see a real sense of slip or we cannot classify them as fault because you do not see a relative movement between two different blocks. You don't have a hanging wall and a foot wall here, or at least it's not clear. It's probably something dilatant, something that simply opened. Some more here. Other one more here. By the way, don't learn mapping by me. I'm mapping in a very, very not decent way. You have to learn to map as Gia and Sascha are mapping. So if I'm doing it as an exam, I will not pass the exam for sure. I'm doing it quickly and without too much reasoning, but okay, let's do a couple more and then we can add a new category, for example.
But for that quick and dirty work, it looks really nice.
Oh, thank you. Okay, we can add like this one. We can add like the flow features or flow direction. So we can go here and then these things can also be snapped to the polygons, but in line of principle go in overlay. So they go on top and they will not disturb our map. We can add a flow feature here or flow feature. I don't know, flow direction, flow entrenched flow.
Or maybe flow channel.
Better. Thank you. Certain, of course, not. And then, for example, maybe we have another one you see here, like was it channel flow or flow channel? Okay. Let's add some more just for being. Let's see if we see something which is. Well, this is good. You see, this is a beautiful one. Okay.
Yeah, that one looks really nice.
Flow channel, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we are happy. At least I am happy. We can categorize them, properties, and then we can categorize them by value. And this time the value is not the certainty, but the type. Classify, we only have 2 of them, but we can choose the symbology accordingly. So double click, planetary symbol, and for sure there's a fractal symbol somewhere here. You also have the fault symbols. If you have a fault line that is dislocating to different portions of your unit or some morphologic features, you can use this. If you have normal faults, cyclic faults, class faults. Regional fracture, and here we have partially buried concentric fracture, fold, crest, ridge, belt. I think it's one of the first ones. Or we can also use this trough or narrow depression because it's a narrow depression. We can also try to use this so we can see them clearly. And the flow channel, we can choose a flow symbol with maybe an arrow indicating. I'm sure I've seen one before. Flow direction or channelized erosion and scoring. Maybe this is better. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they are exactly the same in the end. So you don't have to be super strict on some of these. Others are really hard coded, let's say. And here is what you have. You have your flow direction. This is strange. It changed my. I changed the type of symbol. Sure, why? Angelo, Luca, are you online? Do you know why it changed the vertices of my polyline? We're going to check this because this was supposed to be with a different shape, whereas these other ones, you see, are marked correctly. Okay, so now we have quite a nice map. And we all agree that this part is much more hammocky than this part here. If you remember my small lessons of yesterday, you can look at, let me save it. You can look at different types of products from the DTM to derive the informations that you need, okay? For example, the altitude, okay? The slope. Yesterday we have seen how to classify the slope. I already did it and it's pre-prepared for you today, but I have classified the slope again according to these thresholds, which are basically the Mars rover thresholds. So less than 10 degrees, green, it's safe. From 10 to 15, be careful. Above 15 degrees, all red, no go. You're going to lose your mission and hurt yourself. And also we know that some areas are rougher than other areas. So for example, this is much more rough. And again, it bears also places where you do not want to go, but here it looks quite nice. And actually, it happens that we also have high resolution images of this area. We just had a look a couple of moments ago. So how about trying to go and see whether we can determine if the smooth material is on top of the hammocky material. Copernicus crater is part and is actually, let's say, the marker for the Copernican age in the lunar timescale. And this was calculated by analyzing, correct me if I'm wrong, but the ejected blocks that was sampled by the astronauts. But it's a really good idea if one can go and land in Copernicus to go and grab a sample directly from the crater, possibly from pristine material of the crater, to get a radiometric measurement of the isotopes and then get an age of the rocks, so that we can constrain better the chronological curve of the moon. And if these are melt pools, and there's molten material coming after the impact, maybe we can try and reach them to gather some insights on lunar volcanism, on the chemistry of the volcanism. We have seen other features on high-resolution images. We might want to go and check what they are, because they might be important. For example, if you looked, you remember that around here we had impact craters with raised rims and ejecta, but this thing has no rims, no clear evidence of ejecta. This is a hole, and if you go up, this is definitely not a crater. It's more conical. It has a small depression on top. You know that there were, like we were talking about, pyroclastic material on the moon. Pyroclastic means eruptions, and eruption means some type of explosive volcanism, possibly involving volatiles. So if this is a cinder cone or a volcanic cone with pyroclastic material, it's also a good idea to go and check whether we can get information about volcanism, different type of volcanism, so not the basaltic one, like the Hawaiian style one, but volcanism involving volatiles. This crater looks very bright. Maybe it's fresh or fresher than the other ones, so it might be exposing different stuff. These are all things that are worth having a look. And by the way, we were marking the contact between the central peak and our smooth area in our map, because it was really neat contact. And in the end, if you go here, check, you can see that actually the contact is really sharp. It means that this material is touching and feeling a depression and touching the slopes. And also you have other things that are very interesting. If you're able to navigate until here, you get access to these boulders, which are fairly large. You can measure them if you want. 20 meters, 8 meters. You can try to approach them, try to see if you can sample them or do some in situ analysis, and then you will get information about the central peak. Because for sure, these boulders are not coming from below, they are coming from above. You can also see, I don't know if you can see it from here, but from in the Tsiolkovsky project of yesterday of practicability, you can see the tracks of the boulder bouncing down the slope. All these boulders are coming from above. So you see, if you can access a fairly flat area, you have a very good way of reasoning. You can start trying to define some scientific objectives and priorities, and try and answer some questions about the lunar surface. So I guess that's now your spot, Filippo, or we can continue discussing this.
I'm here.
If you want, I can stop sharing my screen for a second.
Yeah, okay. I can show something. Okay. So give me 1 second. Okay, now I'm going to show you. I mean, I will start to, I supposed to start from the beginning, so we can pass very quickly on my slides and then come back in the project if you want.
I don't see your screen actually.
Yeah, I'm sharing now.
Okay.
Now, can you see it?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So basically, this was the work we have done on Copernicus crater. We have just submitted, and this is basically the workflow we used for decide some rover trafficability or rover traverses inside the Copernicus crater. So basically we started from the preliminary study of the area. So and then the geologic mapping, we have just do it with Riccardo now. And then we decided the scientific stops and landing site ellipses, and then finally the traverses and the analysis of the traverses. So the preliminary studies, I mean, you have to consider always the morphological and spectral observation in the big picture. So you have to take the regional scale, and take a look what is happening around your target. So, for example, here we have Copernicus surrounded by I mean, on the top we have Maria basin, so mainly basalts, and on the bottom we have highlands, so anorthosites. So we know that Copernicus is like on the ridge, on the border between two.
Filippo, sorry, can you put in a slide share, because it doesn't seem to work.
Okay, sorry.
Or maybe share and then share the screen, because
yeah. Okay, I try it again. So let's try it again. I share the screen directly. Can you look it? Can you see it?
Yeah, can you put, yeah, perfect.
Okay, now we see.
Okay. So basically here we have basalts and then here an orthosite. So we are in like a border between two different kind of crust, and we have to take into account of this situation. Then the preliminary study have to we have to consider regional scale and then the small the big scale. So in the closest observations. Also, we have to take into account the spectral observation. So, for example, here we have olivine content. Here we have Copernicus, and we can see the content in the regional scale are very low in this area, like in the highlands. And in the Maria, we have a high content of olivine, for example. The same for plagioclase and iron. You can see also every kind of, obviously, of mineral you're looking for. But the point is important to have an overview, a regional overview, firstly, to understand what is happening in the small scale. So after that, we did a geologic map. This is the work we done exactly on Copernicus. So what he was doing, but with a lot of hours of work. So we distinguished a lot of geological units, which were super useful, I mean, during this study. And then while you mapping, you have also in this step, you have to consider both spectral and morphological point of view. I mean, at least we did it. We try to mediate between the morphological units and the spectral units. So we basically distinguished more floor units on the base of their spectral content of mainly plagioclase, orthopyroxene, and clinopyroxenes, and obviously of olivine, like in the central peak, we have the northern central peak, which is rich of olivine. So we distinguished among the two, and so on. So that was our work in this area. And then after the map has produced, we passed to the scientific stop selection. And the first question is, while we are working on that, was do we have any scientific constraint? Obviously, if you have a specific task of the mission, obviously you are going to concentrate on this task. But in our case, we didn't have it, so we based our scientific stops on this kind of tables. You can find also on the ESA website or NASA website, in the case of the American one. And there are a list of topic and objective they want to study on the moon, in this case. And there are a lot of questions you can try to answer with your study. And the same was for the USA. We used a lot this table, which is the one of National Research Council of the 2007, but there is another one more updated now. So exactly the same, they subdivide the concepts and the tasks in various goals. And so we basically try to to answer all these questions, like I don't know, bombardment history of the inner solar system, diversity lunar crustal rocks, lunar volcanism, impact processes, and so on. We added to this list the volatiles and the ERS in situ resource utilization, which are very hot task in nowadays. But the fact is, we based on these tables to decide what to study in the area of Copernicus. After that, I mean, after that, we can show you some points, or maybe now it's better for maybe like, okay, I show you something. Okay, this is the Copernicus project with the map, and then like we selected all these red stars are some of the scientific stops we selected. And when you mark, the important things is in the first phase, brainstorming and mark every kind of interest target you find, and then you can work on it. Okay, I retake the presentation. Okay. After this, we decided the landing ellipses of the mission we supposed to do. This is a very tricky part because I mean, is an important part of the decision, and here you have to ask if you have any engineering constraint. In our case, we didn't have it because it's a proposal of it was a proposal of mission. So we just focused on slopes and boulder and crater abundances. But mainly you can have latitude, longitude, dimension, orientation, dust coverage, thermal inertia, albedo, and radar effectivity. I mean, you should consider all this one, and they depend mostly on the ADL parameters, so entry, descent, and landing parameters. So they vary from mission to mission. So basically, they are all the list, and then we focus on these three. We drew landing ellipses in the safest zone you can find, trying to avoid obviously all obstacles you have, and trying to how can I say, trying to draw more and more landing ellipses. One is the safest, so is the smallest one, and so going in the bigger to be conservative. So if this is not working, you will land in this kind of ellipses and so on. Then inside of these areas, you can find you can find a lot of obstacles, and so you have to mapping it or like study it. We started to the boulder counting inside of one of this area we choose as landing site. And we counted all the boulders that could be a risk for the mission. And we counted like 1,500 boulders, more or less. We calculate, we estimate the risk to hit one of these during the mission and during the landing site, I mean, especially. We calculate you add like 1.9 per 10 on -4 boulders per square meter. So they're basically it was pretty safe as area. You see, there are in this picture we have a lot of boulders. We just mapped every single boulder, and then make the estimation in the end. Then we did the same with the whole area, but with the craters, and like all this area, we counted all the craters inside the landing ellipses, and we counted like 3,800 craters, more or less, and we counted that there were 53 craters per square kilometers. So those are the parameters we based for the safeness. And then we analyzed also the slope of the area, like you do with the slope map, but we mapped all the forbidden areas. So in our case was the areas with a steepness degrees over 16. So all the red area are the forbidden area mainly, and we mapped that. We mapped them, and then we made an estimation of how much of the entire area is forbidden for the rover trafficability, and the results was 1.3 more or less. So I mean, is pretty safe as area. So is the smoothest one, and this is good result. Obviously, you should use a DTM with higher resolution in the case, but I mean, this was the best we have, so we use it. Then we pass to the traverse selection. So maybe Riccardo, we can just stop and look at the project if you want. I don't know.
Yes, I was just answering a question. Maybe you can expand on that. How were the boulders counted? Was it manual or automated by any plugin?
The boulder counting, I mean, just one moment. No, it was handling manual counted. Yeah, they are not automatized. It could be an interesting EI. EI.
Yeah. Actually, there are fairly large amount of methods. There are manual methods, and there are some documents about Grotzinger, I think, that were doing this very same activity for the landing sites on Mars. And one of these is, but you can hear in the talk about Maurizio Paiola probably tomorrow.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
And
probably.
He's, I think, one of the experts on this type of techniques. Essentially, you have to measure the separation between the dark and the bright areas of the boulders. Maybe I can show it, or you can show it. So every boulder which is illuminated is illuminated on one side, the darker on the other side. So you have to mark the separation, the tips,
okay.
the separation between dark and bright areas on boulders.
Here.
Like use those big ones, yeah.
This one, like in this case, you can find the bright area, which is the boulder, and the black area, which is the shadow. You're meaning this.
Then there are other methodologies, for example, the image-based recognition, for example, like brighter areas are probably boulders, or if you have a fairly enough high-resolution DTM, the bigger boulders can be resolved. There are machine learning techniques, image segmentation techniques, lots of different techniques. All of them come with their own advantages and disadvantages. For example, when you count lots of boulders by hand, you start like going crazy at a certain point, and then you start seeing boulders where you don't have boulders, and you are over counting the boulders from time to time. So if you are pushing the resolution too much, you will end up counting boulders at the limit of the resolution of your images, and then it's something. So that is something that you don't want. One of the techniques to let's say, to cope with this problem is that you are counting as much boulders as you can, and then you truncate your distribution at a certain diameter threshold, which is normally 3, 4, 5 times the resolution of the image. So let's say that if we are looking here at the 1 meter per pixel image resolution, every boulder that is smaller than 4 meters is going to be deleted because it's too small and it's too biased, our interpretation. Other methodologies, for example, machine learning, are providing good results, but also lots of false positives. And in the end, you have to go back and forth, checking manually, tagging different types of boulders and created labels to then train the machine again. So it's time consuming anyways. There's no method that works in a perfect way.
The tricky thing with the machine learning is that a lot of boulders are interpreted. So you're human, and you know this is a boulder for some reasons, but the machine learning maybe not. So as you said, you should check every single boulder of the machine learning. I mean, maybe, I don't know. For nowadays, maybe in some years they will be more precise than a human can do. I don't know.
Yeah, there are techniques also to count craters. They are asking that, and one of these, for example, maybe you, Musa, are much more expert than me. I know the one by Silbert, which is deep. How is it called? Deep craters. You can find the code in GitHub. Basically, they're using circular matching windows to match the input craters. But if you have because circular objects are much more, let's say, easy in a way to detect rather than boulders that have very, very variable shapes. But in the end, also crater counting via automatic methods can return funny results sometimes. So yeah, they're not 100% reliable. But I'm not expert on that. So yeah.
I'm sure that something is going to release in the next few months or years in this area, I think.
So GMARS or GMoon could be a good tool for crater counting if you are using them as a platform to load images on the fly and then use some of their tools to count craters. It's good. There's a crater counting tool, as far as I remember, from a couple of years. Where you can also build your own chronological curve. But basically, it's not that you take such a high resolution image like that one that we are looking at now, you feed it into a software and then it spits out as an output of the crater count. It doesn't work like that. And if it does, you have to check really carefully that it's reliable. Just ways to count craters in these GIS softwares by hand, by using, for example, the 3-point method rule. So that from 3 points, only a single circle is passing. So you basically need to place 3 points on the rim of the crater, and then it's adding a circular shape file, and then calculate diameters, and then you can use other techniques, for example, to reconstruct your chronological curve. There are also tools for ArcGIS, like Crater Tools, which is a plugin of ArcGIS, which is also making the plots for you of the crater size frequency distribution. There are Python-based ones, but the actual crater counting and crater detection is not an easy task, right? Maybe you can expand on that, Carolyn, Gia, and Sascha, but it looks easy because they are, they're all circular, how they are measuring on the ejector, but in the end, it's not.
Right. The problem is that you have different degradation levels for the craters.
Exactly.
So, of course, the AIs easily identify the fresh craters, but then it gets increasingly hard for them to see the degraded craters. So, I mean, maybe at some point that will be possible, but that's the limitation currently is really the degraded craters that are not so, easy to see. Those are the same ones that human counters begin to have trouble with right at the beginning, and need to learn also to be able to recognize and mark. For just as sort of a preview of one of our group has just submitted a paper with a crater measurement tool for QGIS. So that should be coming out pretty soon. We can, of course, link that to the GMAP information as soon as it's available.
That is a really great news, Carolyn.
Yeah. Well, it works exactly like Crater Tool, but it's for and has some additional nice things about it, but it's for QGIS instead of ArcGIS.
That's fantastic. So yeah, that's really great news. I mean, it's really nice. And we can make them have tutorials on that and all this.
Exactly. Exactly.
And by the way, the thing that you said about the crater degradations, it's really a problem. It's a big deal because you can have like 3, 4, 5 degradation classes. You can have overprinted craters by other craters. You can have craters that are subdued by ejecta blanket or by basalt infilling. You can see just a part of the rim. And so if you feed a machine learning system or an AI system with the images, then it's returning you also some crater classes. In the end, you have to go and check all of them, and it's like you're doing the counting yourself. So
yeah. Yeah.
But if you're interested in instance segmentation, which is like labeling different things, different objects, as I read in a Q&A, I suggest you to check the tool by Giacomo Nojumi, who is the guy that presented you yesterday the Jupyter Hub ISIS features of GMAP, and he's actually published a paper about a tool for instance segmentation for example, skylight and open pits. And I can probably try to find a reference and put it here. And it's an open source tool, and if you can try and use it, you can also provide feedback, which is really nice. It's called Deep Landforms, and I will share with you the link on the global chat. Thank you. Deep Landforms. Yeah. Today I need more coffee than usual. But anyways, if you're interested in this, you can also stay until the last day on Friday. There will be Jack Wright from ESA, which did lots of mapping on Mercury, and also applied machine learning and segmentation techniques to produce geologic maps, and he will show you how the results will not substitute the human, let's say, interpretation. So it will be very interesting, and I suggest you to check that presentation, because I mean, AI can be a powerful tool, but we do not have to abuse it. Because it looks that things are made easier, but in the end, it will create many more troubles if we are not careful.
Okay.
Okay.
So what we basically did, can I go on, Riccardo?
Yes, I didn't want to interrupt. I thought you.
No. It was super interesting. So no problem if you want to go deeper. Okay, so we basically have this map, which is our known Copernicus crater. Then what we did is based on the neck, basically on the neck images. You already saw that the most safe area to land is the northwestern quadrant of the crater because of its smoothness. So it's smoother than the other part of the crater. So obviously, if you have to decide where to land with a rover, in the safest mode, obviously will be in this area. So now we should draw an hypothetical potential landing ellipse, because the landing of the rover, maybe you just talked about it, I don't know. The landing of the rover is basically an ellipse where the most probable point of landing is the center, and the fewest probable landing point is toward the edge. But it's safe to have an area that you're sure that in every point of this area, the rover, or I mean, the most of this point, the rover can land safely. So to draw the ellipses on QGIS, there is this, which in English should be rectangle, oval, and diamonds, I think. Then
Yes, indeed. Yes, rectangles,
okay.
ovals, and diamonds.
Okay,
Yeah.
you can confirm. Okay, it's based on point layer. So you have firstly to draw a point. So just for the moment, okay, I can create a new layer. We can do it. You can see my screen. If I no, maybe I have to share.
Yes, yes, we do.
Like this. Okay. Okay, we open the to create a new layer. So I don't know if you already talked about it. Maybe I. Okay, just new layer. We have to create a point layer. So just type.
Yeah, we
name.
saw it, but it's always good to refresh.
Okay. Like landing ellipse point. Save. Then the type of geometry we will put points, and with the system reference, the one of the project. So, and then okay, this window is super big. Okay, then okay, and you will create a new point layer. Then we have to draw a single point in more or less in the area we want, but don't worry, you will can move your ellipses after. So just point, just put a point in a random place if you want. Okay, I have to light to put on the layer. Okay, then once you have your point, you can go on, okay, save, close the modes, okay. Then you have to go on this processing, so rectangle, oval, and diamonds. And this window will open, where you can put in the input layer, the point layer is just you just use, so landing ellipse point, the one I did. Then the shape you want, so I want an oval, an ellipse. So then you have to put the width and the height of the ellipses. So basically, they are the major and minor axis of the ellipse. So wide, like 7.5 kilometers, and high 19 kilometers. The rotation we can apply after, so don't worry about it. The segments, I think, is the number of segments will compound your ellipse. So after I tried with 64, then we can see if enough or maybe too much, I don't know. Okay, then you can go to execute, and the ellipse will appear on your screen. With in the center, you will have the point you drew after, but is useless now. Just focused on the polygon you draw. Okay. Now we have our ellipse. Obviously, if you have engineering constraints, so if you know that your ellipse should be 5 kilometers per 10, I don't know, or something, you obviously have to follow this kind of measurements. In this case, we didn't have, so we based on the or Mars 2020 or Mars Curiosity area landing site. So we just took a referenced ellipse and just repeated. Okay, now to have a better view on what is inside of our ellipse, we just empty the ellipse and just visualize the border of it. To do it, we just double click on the polygon. Then we can go on the symbol and the filling color and just drag it to become transparent, to make it transparent. Then we change the border color, like in red, I don't know, you can choose whatever you want. And we will increase a little bit the width of the line. Let's try like this, apply, and we will have our ellipse empty, so we can see through our ellipse. Okay, now we have our ellipse and we have our geologic map with our contacts, okay. And we have our scientific points, which could be, we can use actually this layer if you want. Let me just one moment. I delete this point just for comfortable. Okay. Okay, we can decide which scientific targets we want to study. So we can find something interesting inside of this area. I mean, in this area, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 geologic units, 7. So we have a lot of geologic units. So I think the rover, as like a geologist, have to sample an area, an unknown area. And so I asked myself, which part of this area are the most interesting to be studied? For sure, like Riccardo told before, there is this. I turn off. Okay, this shape, which is pretty interesting. Where we suppose this like a cinder cone or something linked to volcanism, because it has a shapes that reminds it. Obviously, we are not 100% sure about it. So this is a super interesting target to be studied. So we can put a point on it, maybe on the border, because obviously the rover will not be able to climb this this shape. So we will put our target like here. Then we can find others like more focused on the geological unit, not on the shape. So we have like this area, which could be interesting. Or let me check other stuff. Also, this area could be interesting. So just starting to populate what you want to study in this area. So now I will put quickly some points like this fresh crater. And this unit, that one too. These two fresh crater could be interesting. Okay. Then we have also all this part with the central peak, like Riccardo told before. There are a lot of boulders that fall down from the central peak, which could be a super good target for our rover, because you can study, basically you can study the central peak without climb obviously the mountain. So
yeah, sorry for spoiling that.
No.
But by the way, how much time do you still need? It's already 3:30 and we have to take a break, and
Okay.
then we have the talks. No,
Okay.
just to know.
No, just I think maximum 10 minutes, I think. I have to stop, or we can.
I think you can go on anyway. It's recorded, so people.
Okay.
Needs a break. I can have a break and then.
Yeah. Okay. I can do it quickly. Okay. The fact is, you have to populate every kind of feature you want to study. Then okay. I just saved. Okay. Save. Then we have our just put it like this. It is more visible. Okay. We have all these stars. Let's suppose they are our scientific target that we decided we want to study, or because we have scientific constraints we have for our mission, or because we have followed some lines of ESA or NASA or something else, or just a paper. Then you should know or decide the maximum path of your rover. So if you know that your rover can walk until like 30 kilometers, more or less, you have to choose obviously a path that respect this length. And okay, so to draw a path, obviously we need a linear feature. So we do the same thing of before. So new layer, and we are going to call it like traverse. Geometry line. And okay, reference the one of the project. Okay. So we have our traverses layer. We can just in a more visible color, maybe. Okay, just try this, but then we can change it after. Okay. Okay, so we have our landing ellipse, our traverse layer, and our scientific points. Then we take our ellipse and we have to put it in the more safe way to trying to avoid the maximum the roughest part of our map. So you just can activate the modify on the polygon, and you can go on rotate and move element. If you click like this, you can just rotate the ellipses how you want. So I will put like this more or less, and then we can just move wherever we want. So let's say this is the safest area. Obviously, it's better to map every single boulder or every single mound to have a clear situation of the area. So if, okay, like this, okay. So to decide where is the cleanest area from the boulders, from the mounds, and so on. When you decide it, you just suppose that your, okay, let's say, you just suppose that your area is this, and your landing point, you have to decide the landing point, because this is the area where the rover will land. But the point of landing, which will be your start of the beginning of your traverse. Okay, let's suppose we will be in the center of our ellipse.
In line of principle, yes. When you do not know it's the center.
Yeah,
right?
it should be. I mean, it should be. Okay, so basically, we are going to take this as the center of our ellipse, even if it's not exactly the center, but that's it. So from here, we have to start to draw the path in a very precise way, trying to avoid every single obstacle, which is obviously visible from your best resolution, geometrical resolution data. So in our case is the neck images. So from here, let's say our landing point will be this. You have to start to draw your traverses, trying to link the maximum point, the maximum scientific stops we have marked before. So just for to make it quick here, we have, let's suppose, 30 kilometers of wide. Okay. So this is more or less 15 kilometers. So to have an idea of how far we can go. Then you now I'm going to draw a little part of it, because 30 kilometers are very long, so we have no time to do it. Let's just say we want to go from here to here. So we start from here, and then also helping with the slope map, we can have. You can avoid the most steepest part of the area.
Exactly. So if you remember the lesson of Fred Calef yesterday, there's also a way to create a least cost path. This is something we are going to show you tomorrow. So basically, you can create a cost matrix based on different parameters. For example, the slope. So the higher is the slope that you're climbing, the higher the cost. And the software can also automatically detect the path for you. But of course, at this resolution, this is not enough. So you need to then fix it by hand, or try to drive it by hand by having like a cost matrix below, or simply higher resolution enough images. So like Filippo is doing now is passing through craters.
Yeah.
And avoiding boulders and staying in a safe zone.
Yeah, also, when you're traveling, virtually traveling with your rover like this, if you find during your path an interesting feature like this, is obviously has more sense to pass close it, because if you find something interesting during the mission, you can just make a deviation or something, or just maybe it's possible you find something interesting during your path. If you walk like far from other interesting feature, is obviously is less probable you find something related to other interesting features you can find. Okay. Okay, we are closed. So okay, I just do it quickly. So obviously you should avoid every single holes you find, but I mean, we have no time, so I go fast.
Yeah, I think we need to wrap up so we can.
Yeah. Okay. So basically we have this line, which will be our traverse. Do you want to wrap up now, or just, I don't know?
No, yeah, better wrapping up
Okay.
now, because then we can break and then we have some small talks.
Okay. Just the last thing is when you decide your rover traverse, you have to decide which kind of analysis you have to do. And you have a lot of table on papers or online you can find on like this one with all the kind of analysis you can do, all every single instrument you can mount on your rover, and like the topic you can study with it. I think this is all, more or less.
Yeah, thank you, Filippo. It was a really nice addition, because I mean, one thing is to show things on presentations. The other thing is showing how you can do that from practice. And in the end, today we have seen from scratch how from an empty project with simple tools like Mappy, we could create a very nice map of Copernicus crater. We could add a look at the mineral abundances, let's say the lusty volcanic material, morphology, slope matter, infer or evaluate some slope tolerances, and also use high resolution images to build a more highly detailed map. Look at finer details, look at boulders in the end, also looking at the scientific requirements of the space agencies such as NASA and ESA for the lunar exploration, having tables with a list of instruments, the types of analysis that we can do, and then we can in practice place down a landing ellipse with a fairly amount of reliability, and then place some interesting marking targets, and then draw a path in a safe way that is prioritizing our targets in terms of scientific relevance. So we have seen that in theory the previous days. Today we did it everything from scratch, and so I'm very happy that you show the actual process step by step, because
yes, sorry for to be long,
no.
but
this is something that that is normally not shown. So
I stole
thank you.
some the break time. You're welcome. Thank you too.